Welcome back to Skin to It. I am Marlo Sutton, fashion stylist and beauty enthusiast.
And I'm Dr. Sandy Skotnicki, board certified dermatologist. So today is a really great episode. I'm very excited. It's because it's kind of combining two passions of mine, dermatology and volleyball. For those who don't know, I used to play for the University of Toronto, varsity Blues, shout out to the Blues. And our guest today is Melissa Humana-Paredes, who captured Canada's hearts and the silver medal in beach volleyball at the Paris Olympics. And it's sort of a full circle moment for me because, and I'm aging myself here, I know Melissa's father. He coached the York men when I played for U of T. So it's a full circle moment for me. Yeah.
So nice. Well, I mean, it's so nice to have you with us and to be having this conversation. Congratulations on your incredible Olympic journey. I mean, it's really wild. Love it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. I'm so thrilled to be here. It's very full circle for me because lots of connections here. I am also a York University alum. So we have that little rivalry with U of T. But also you have been part of my skincare and skin cancer journey for a long time, since early days of my professional beach volleyball career. So I'm thrilled to be here to be talking about also two important passions of mine, which is sun safety and sports and beach volleyball.
Exactly. So before we jump into it, we're going to thank our sponsor for today. So today's episode is sponsored by both Vichy and La Roche-Posay. And feel the heat, not the burn. Every day is a sunscreen day, but not all sunscreens are made the same. Protecting your skin from daily UV shouldn't mean compromising on comfort. With the advanced textures from La Roche-Posay and Vichy, both Canadian Dermatology Association approved, with broad UVA and UVB protection, you get the highest broad spectrum shield, and formulas so elegant and seasonal, they become the favorite part of your daily sunscreen ritual. So thank you to L'Oreal, Vichy, and La Roche-Posay. I just want to make a little shout out. My favorite sunscreen from last summer was Vichy Capital Soleil Face and Body Sunscreen, because it also contains peptides and niacinamide. And it's a wonderful formula. If you don't know about it, Melissa, it's great for the face in particular. It's also for the body, but I really like it for the face.
The face.
I'm already taking notes.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get into it and start with the reality of your sport. And can you give us an idea of how much time you actually spend competing and training outside? So you're not in Brazil, but you are in California, which is also very sunny right now. So thank you for joining us.
Oh, again, thrilled to be here. And yes, I play an outdoor sport, and the reality of being a Canadian beach volleyball player is that our winters don't allow us to train in the conditions we need all the time. So we definitely find warmer places like California or Brazil to go have some beautiful training camps. That means we are exposed to the sun a lot more than an average person. I would say our typical training week would be Monday to Friday. We're on the beach outside in the mornings, maybe like a 8 to 10, a 9 to 11 window in those hours. And we have a sand session. And we usually do that once a day. Sometimes we'll do a double day session where we'll do it in the morning and then do another one in the afternoon. So sometimes we're out there kind of like midday, kind of that strong heat. And it really makes a difference. You can feel it, and you definitely feel it on how you prepare and what kind of clothing you wear as well. Always looking at the weather to see what the UV is like, what the weather is like, how strong it's going to be at those different times. And then when we're in competition, which can be anywhere in the world, from North America, South America, Asia, Europe, any times of day, we will be competing from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. sometimes. So there have been times where I have been playing under the lights at night, and I haven't needed to put on sunscreen, or I'm not under the sun, and that's a refreshing time. But more often than not, we are playing in the dead of heat, and those tournaments are hefty because we're in the sun multiple times a day. We're in there warming up an hour before our games. Sometimes our games are an hour long, so we're out there for quite a bit. I myself try to avoid the sun as much as I can when I'm not competing or training. So you'll find me in the shade. You'll find me completely covered up as much as I can in a hotel room somewhere if I don't have to be out there.
And that was actually you sort of already brought it up, but I mean, I reviewed some studies that looked at outdoor athletes, and they do receive a lot of UV exposure because of the training schedules. But it's interesting, and my question to you was going to be, do you try to book your training? You can't do it for competitions, obviously, before 11 and after 3. And the reason for that, listeners, is that's the UV index is usually lower. So it sounds like you do. But sometimes if you have a second, maybe because of the court schedule, you have to do it in that between 11 and 3, which is not optimal.
Yeah.
Which is not
You know
optimal.
what? I would say it's definitely not how our schedule is made. It just happened to work out that way.
Well, it's good for you.
Yeah, it works out. I am thrilled about that because I am aware of the UV being a little bit stronger during the 11 to 3 window. So definitely try to avoid that as much as we can.
Yeah, it's much stronger actually. And if the closer you are to the equator, the UV index is even, like, those time periods are really important, between 11 and 3, like if you're close to the equator, like the sun's like straight on you.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Sure. So we talked about some protective sun clothing and just how you're actually protecting yourself when you're playing, but you do have to focus on the game. So, it can't always be on your mind. And how do you, I guess, sort of strike a balance between those two?
Yeah, I think it's definitely top of mind. I have a history of a family history of melanoma, and I've had a couple moles removed, and we're aware of it as beach volleyball players, of the importance of skincare and sun safety. So it is something that is top of mind, especially the older I've gotten, the more that I've learned about this space and the impact and the severity of it. It's something I think about before I get to training. Once I'm in training, I'm focused on the practice. I'm focused on my drills and my presence of training. Before then, I'm thinking about, okay, what clothing do I want to wear today? How much skin is going to be exposed today? What headgear am I going to be wearing? So those are things that I prepare for in advance. In terms of reapplication during a training session, that is something that I do need to be better at, because that is something that I am not focused on, unfortunately, as much as I would like to be, especially during a competition. It's about finding those seamless ways to be able to reapply, whether it's with a spray or something super quick that I could do. But for the most part, what's the easiest fix for me is being able to put on sunscreen at home before I get to training, and then do a reapplication when I get there. And then making sure that the clothing I'm wearing is covering up and is UPF protected, which a lot of the clothing I do wear from our apparel sponsor is sun protected clothing. So that also gives me peace of mind where I know I'm already protected.
Yeah, I think we're going to delve into the UPF clothing a little bit more, but I want to come back to this sort of, really one of the most important discussion points of this whole episode is the elephant in the room with outdoor sports is skin cancer. So let's talk a little bit about some stats, and some of this you may know, some of you may not know, but part of the problem with beach volleyball is you not only have UV exposure, but you also have reflection off the sand. So other water sports, other sports that involve water, you have reflection off the sand. So that increases your UV exposure. A review of over 10,000 athletes found that although athletes know a lot about skin cancer, sun protection, like just listening to you talk, Melissa, it's part of your whole routine before you actually get to the beach, right? But fewer than half actually have adequate photo protection, partly because for all the reasons you just said. Once you're there, you're focusing on your craft, right? Like you should probably be reapplying every hour because you're sweating. We'll get to that and how sweating affects. But the research is clear. Like even weekend warriors, people that go out to beach holidays, water sports, your risk of skin cancer, in particular basal cell, is higher. So, there was one large European study that found beach and water sports exposure linked a 60% increase in basal cell carcinoma. So, yeah, so sounds like by looking at your, it is something that you know about, but when you talk about numbers, it can get a bit more scary. Yeah.
You know what? It's interesting. I actually didn't know a lot of what you're saying, and as you're saying, that makes total sense because I've heard of the reflection from the sun off of snow and off of water, but of course off of sand. I don't know why it didn't occur to me that it would be the same kind of impact, and that we're just as at higher risk as people who are on the water or on snow. And that definitely hits home. And I hope that the beach volleyball community is listening and paying attention because this is important information.
Well, I'm going to give a few tips along the way. So we'll get to that. Yeah.
I think you need somebody on the sidelines when you're doing competition. You know
Running
how
by.
they instead with water, you just need someone to just spray you down
Okay,
as you run past.
Since we're on this
That's a great
topic,
idea.
well, sometimes I'm a bit stickler because I want to answer the questions. But
Yeah, sorry.
No. It's good. It's good. I mean, one of the best tips I have for athletes in sports are sunscreen sticks. Okay. So you and maybe L'Oreal will sponsor you with a whole bunch of sticks for your whole next year
team.
competition or the whole team. So the thing about sticks that are great, and both Vichy and La Roche-Posay have one, is you can put it around your eyes and on the forehead, so you're not sweating the sunscreen in. You don't mess up your hands. So for racket sports, golf, tennis, anything, you keep a stick, you can reapply. You can reapply. Like the problem when you're in when you're in the semifinals or the finals at the Olympics, you know, who cares about sunscreen? But I mean, for the day to day, I shouldn't say that, and you were also playing at night, so that was good. But you can use the sticks actually every time you take a timeout, right? But it takes your focus away from the game. So that's the problem with sport and sunscreen is when you're really in a lot of your time outside of training is you're playing, you're competing, you're focusing. You're not focusing on the sunscreen. So the sticks are helpful. Good tip. Good tip.
That is a great
tip.
Yeah.
And you know what I find the sticks super helpful for? Ears.
Because you're not wearing a 3-inch brim fashionable hat when you're playing on the beach. Yeah,
you're not like wearing a wide brim sun hat when you're playing beach volleyball.
I need my peripherals.
Yeah. Somebody sent me a picture once of a dermatologist on vacation. I had a massive hat, gloves on, it was SPF clothing.
Totally covered.
You can't play beach volleyball that way. So, actually, one other thing I wanted to mention is about sunburns. Okay, and sunburns can. Did you know that one blistering sunburn can increase your risk of melanoma by 50%? Yeah.
I have seen those stats. That is very scary because I'm sure we all got those when we were younger.
So a question for you is, despite using sunscreen, how many times have you actually burnt yourself? Because when you're in a competition, you're like, as we just said,
you're so focused. Yeah.
It's true. I would say it's happened way less the older I've gotten. But when I was younger and early days competing, and this is a warning to those young kids who are playing beach volleyball, developing early days, whether it's in Toronto at Ashbridges Bay or here in California, and you're out there all day. These tournaments are all day long. And I'm sure there's not a lot of reapplication happening. It's so important to be aware of reapplication during those days because you're out there all the time. I would get so sunburned during those events specifically. I think once I got to the professional level, I haven't gotten a bad sunburn in a very, very long time, but sometimes it does happen. You miss it. You know, I was just in Brazil last week and there were a couple spots on my back that I missed. And that's why you need a buddy to help you with your back.
For sure.
I like your idea.
Yeah. Spray it. Spray it down.
Spray it down.
Totally. So it does still happen, even though I've been doing this for over a decade, and I would say I'm a professional at my sport and quite aware of sun exposure. It still happens even to the best of us. So it is so important to be mindful of it at every age.
I would say you're definitely a professional at your sport there, dear.
Yes.
You're a Canadian icon. Yes. Okay, I have a quick little thing I wanted to mention here, which was interesting. I mean, beach volleyball has become so popular. And, you know, I used to play beach volleyball before it was popular at Balmy Beach. Okay, shout out to all my old people on Balmy Beach in Toronto. But there is a study that actually looked at swimmers and beach volleyball players and found that sunscreen use was notably higher among beach volleyball players, 90% compared to swimmers. But here's the concerning part. Despite using sunscreen, sunburn still affected about 45 to 50% of beach volleyball athletes for the reasons you just said, right? So a little shout out to, like, you're at a totally elite high level. You have time. You're not rushed. You're not necessarily playing pool play back to back to back. And you're also older and you understand the risks. You've had, you know, skin checks, etc. The younger players, it's the younger players that are getting burnt. Yeah.
Can you talk to us about really your sunscreen strategy with everything you know? And what's your recommendation? And what are you doing yourself personally?
Yes. No, I would say that I am pretty mindful and I take this very seriously. So I would love to actually share my routine with you and see if there's anything that I'm missing. Mm-hmm. So when I get up for practice and I change into my uniform to get to training, which is usually a sports bra, I'll start putting on body sunscreen there. And I always leave the house with one layer of face sunscreen at home. And then when I get to the beach, and usually that would be a chemical sunscreen that I use. And then when I get to the beach, I'll add another layer on, and that will be more mineral based. And then I will do kind of the little hard to get spots like the ears, the lips, kind of this area here, which always, you can probably see it's a little bit more tanned than other areas of my face, where, like in my raccoon tan. I'll do that with another layer of the stick. And then I do try and layer up a lot on my forearms because these get exposed more than anything else. Oftentimes, in the mornings, it's not that warm out, so I'll wear leggings and my legs are safe. I always try and remember to the tops of my feet. Do that with like a little spray sometimes. But my forearms, because I often roll up my sleeves like this, they get so much sun exposure and they're so sweaty. So I know that the sunscreen is wiping off almost every water break that I have. That's one area that I need to be better at reapplying. But once I'm there and I've done all my application, I usually make sure that I'm wearing a long sleeve, I'm wearing leggings. So not only am I protected underneath the clothes, but I'm also trying to cover up as much as possible. Sometimes it's inevitable. It's very hot outside and I cannot withstand wearing the leggings for that long. So I will have to take off. And as soon as that happens, I'll reapply again because I know I've sweat. Let's see. And sometimes I'll do a spray, honestly, on my head as well, to either protect my hair, like little areas of my scalp that are being exposed. And I would say that's it. And then always like an SPF on the lips as well.
So I would say you're doing an excellent job. And if we look at that
Oh.
study, I mean, beach volleyball players were much better than swimmers in the
Right.
study.
Yes.
Okay,
Love to
so
hear that.
anything to add from a dermatology point of view? Well, just a few points for the listener. How much to apply? So a shot glass, like if you have a bikini on, a shot glass is or a man with a swim trunks, a full shot glass is how much you need, which is a lot of sunscreen. So I would just be mindful of making sure you're putting that. There's also the teaspoon rule, like for your arms, 2 teaspoons. The controversy between SPF 30 and 50, I mean, the difference in the UVB protection between 30 and 50 is very little. So UVB blocks about SPF 30 blocks about 97% of rays, SPF 50 blocks 98, but that's only talking about UVB. It's not talking about UVA. So I actually do recommend 50 plus because they also usually have more UVA filters. I liked your mention, and you're obviously showing your knowledge that chemical sunscreens mixed with mineral sunscreens are still more efficacious at blocking longer UVA wavelengths, which are the ones that are associated more with skin cancer. Mineral sunscreens are adequate, but not always great. They also melt off easier. And then the stick, reapplying the stick around the eyes and the ears and the lips is great. Don't forget your tops of hands and feet. Now, it would be optimal for you as an athlete to reapply every hour, probably, because sweating is like water. And they've shown that sweat actually increases photo sensitivity to the sun. And I think that's one of the risk factors. So you're doing a good job of reapplying. There are some gel sprays that you consider like gel-based sprays. Can't think of one off the top of my head, which would be great because you don't want the ball to get all messed up, right?
Totally.
With creams
it
and
actually
lotions.
happens.
Yeah.
It actually happens where it
I'm sure it
slips right
does.
through your hands.
I'm
Yeah.
sure
gosh.
it does. Yeah. Yeah.
Those are great tips. Actually, I do have a question, Dr. Skotnicki, about the shot glass rule. I do find it can be intimidating for some people to like squeeze out a full shot glass. What I typically do, correct me if it's incorrect or not, is I'll do it in layers. So I won't obviously put it all at once and slather it all at once. I'll just do like little scoops of it as I spread it out. That's
Well,
okay.
then you said you reapplied it again when you got there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're definitely, so part of the reason we often tell people to reapply every 2 hours is because they don't pput enough quantity. And the SPF is directly proportional to the quantity. So if you put less than because that's how the SPF's determined, you're going to get a lower SPF. So you doing it in 2 sessions is actually great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So are water resistant sunscreens less? Yeah. Are they?
Good question. Yeah.
I mean, you would think that would combat the sweat issue.
Yeah. So definitely for you as an athlete, you want to sort of pick water resistant. There's no such thing as waterproof anymore. That's not allowed by the FDA or Health Canada. So water resistant on a sunscreen means it can last 40 to 80 minutes if exposed to water. So that's going to be better for your sweating. Both La Roche-Posay and Vichy have water-resistant brands, the Anthelios and the Capital Soleil, the one that I like. So those are water-resistant formulas. So yeah, good question.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've discussed that sunscreen is obviously so important, but I know it's not your only line of defense against the sun and being burned. So yeah, talk to us about the clothing and what you're wearing during competition, during your training, just as further protection.
And I guess is any of it UV? Because you kind of said it was. So is it UPF? And I can define that later. But what are the UPF clothing?
Yes, yeah. So our apparel sponsor for Team Canada is Left on Friday for Volleyball Canada. Sorry. And so they provide all of our uniforms, from our bikinis to our t-shirts and long sleeves, and they just released a sun protection line for tops. And so I religiously train in those and compete in those. Again, if the weather permits, I will probably be covered from neck until ankle, maybe with like a little bit of stomach showing if the shirt rises. But for the most part, I'm as covered as I can be with the sun protection clothing. I think it's so important, and that just also eases my mind, so that I don't even have to think about reapplication. And it's super comfortable, and it's the material is really nice. So when you sweat, it kind of also cools you. So I can kind of last in it a little bit longer than maybe most, like a cotton shirt or something, because it's kind of sweat wicking that way. So I do find that I will rely on that as much as I can. And if not, I love to cover my chest and shoulders as much as possible. So even like a tank top that kind of like covers a bit of the shoulders, but anything that's high neck, even sports bras that are high neck, it helps me just feel a little bit more protected there. And so I do rely on the sun protection clothing a lot.
I actually have two questions there that came up. And I've seen you wear those tops in competitions. I do watch you. Are some tournaments like regulated where you can't wear that stuff? So that's my first question. And then I was going to define UPF for the listeners. But is there regulations where you have to wear those more skimpy, revealing things for ads or TV or whatever?
So yes, at tournaments, we are always given a tournament sports bra. So we can wear whatever we want underneath the sports bra. We can wear a long sleeve under the sports bra and put the sports bra over top. We can wear whatever we want on the bottoms, shorts, bikinis, leggings. You see a lot of women wearing skirts now to play, kind of like those tennis skirts. It's cute, but we are regulated with the sports bra. So you'll see a lot of athletes out there. They'll be wearing all different types of sports bras underneath the given top that we're given. So you can wear a high neck sports bra and then put the other one on top that we have to for the sponsors and for the tournament.
Yeah.
But yes, you'll see a lot of girls wearing, a new thing is they'll be wearing kind of a shrug. So it'll protect their shoulders and arms, but you can still, everything is seen and exposed from the sports bra that you need for TV.
They're available in tennis too. I've seen those in tennis. Yeah.
Yes. And now I'm seeing a lot of people wearing arm sleeves, which is the new thing. And it's multi-purpose, I think, for compression, also for sweat wicking, but also for me, I'm going to look into that for sun protection, because my forearms is what I feel like is getting the most amount of sun these days. So I'm going to look into that.
So let's define UPF for the listeners. So it means ultraviolet protection factor. And the UPF 50 fiber blocks 98% of UV rays, which is great. Let's look at a regular white T-shirt. It blocks about 5 to 10. It's about, not 5 to 10, it's about a UPF factor of 5 to 10. So the UPF fibers are usually tightly woven. Sometimes the synthetic fibers are treated with a UV filter. They're dumped in something that has UV filters. So the clothing is very paramount, and it seems like it's really seeping into your sport, which is great.
Sure.
Is great. Yeah.
It's definitely taking over beach volleyball, but that's actually really fascinating. So if you're just out and about wearing kind of like a cotton long sleeve or like a linen shirt, that's actually not that much protection.
It's not. It's lower protection. And listen, the way I look at it is any protection is great.
Yes.
But you're like, comparison wise, the UPF flow, it has a ranking. They're tightly woven. They often the fibers are treated. So it's not just regular cloth, right? It's very different. And there
Wow.
is a ranking system. Yeah. So black t-shirt, a little better than white, but who wants to wear black on a hot
But
day?
so hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the white is, it's a UPF factor about 5 to 10, white t-shirt.
Okay,
Interesting,
good to
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I'm learning so much today.
Good.
And what about head protection? So I guess during competition, you're not wearing a hat or anything.
I'm not. I'm wearing a visor.
That's still something. Yeah.
It's still something and it's honestly mostly I'll even wear a visor at night. It is for sweat as well. When the sun's out, it is great to protect kind of my vision as well. But it is for sweat to prevent from getting into my eyes. You'll see some athletes out there wearing hats, and I wish I could be one of those. But just with the different types of ponytails I wear and everything, I like the freedom of having this open up here. But yes, I'm always wearing a visor of some sort.
So I think a visor is, obviously it's not going to protect your scalp. So spraying the sunscreen on the, especially if you have a part, is great recommendation that you do. Let's just look at what, the different CDA, FDA, the Canadian Dermatology Association, what do we recommend? All societies recommend 3-inch brim. Okay. So when you see me on the beach, I have these hat collection. They're very lovely, and some of them I can pack. I mean, but that's not practical for what you're doing. The visor is giving you some protection of your eyes and nose. So obviously not your ears. The same with baseball caps. And even like if you have the hats I have on, which was interesting because I reviewed the research here, you're still going to get some reflection from the sand, the water, and the snow. So, some people say, I don't want to put any sunscreen on my face. I'm just going to wear a 3-inch brim hat. And now, so I can say, okay, that's better than nothing. Again, any protection is better than no protection, but you're still going to get some sun exposure. So that's just a point I wanted to make.
So, okay, so let's go a little bit beyond the sun protection now and talk about, any other in your sport, any other skin challenges you have. Could be blistering, could be, any other issues you might be dealing with.
Mm-hmm. Chafing.
Yeah.
All very real. Totally. I would say, you know what I will say? I'll give a nod to beach volleyball because I feel like my feet are incredibly soft. And I feel like that's just the constant exfoliation of being in the sand. So I feel like we have great skin because of how much it's being exfoliated in the sand. Just it's super supple and soft. I would say what my main concern would be, aside from skin cancer and skin health, is the impacts long term. Is really not knowing how much damage I'm doing until, another 10, 20 years down the road.
That's true.
And so we're trying to do as much as we can right now to prevent as much as possible. And when that time comes, to see how well we did that or how well I did that, will be really down the road. And so I think when that time comes, I'll probably come visit you, Dr. Skotnicki, to see what we can do.
You could call me Sandy. Okay. Yes. So a few points there. And that's a great question, Marlo. I think that besides the blistering, and you talked about with the heat on the feet, with the sand, I mean, chafing, a lot of sports and athletes, especially if they're long distance running so I like the Cicaplast balm. Cicaplast is a product, a B5 balm by La Roche-Posay. It's a very good, it's protected, but it also can heal. Like if you do get chafing, or like if you get, trauma on your arms, that kind of thing. Sand rashes, yeah, for sure. Like, and as you said, it's a natural exfoliant, which is a great point. I never thought about that. And then aging. So one of the trends with sunscreen and the Vichy Capital Soleil, they have niacinamide and peptides added into the sunscreen. So you're actually getting some anti-aging benefits with the sunscreen. Now, you're not going to add retinol to a sunscreen for obvious reasons, because it's going to increase your risk of sunburn or sun exposure. But you can add peptides and niacinamides and some other soft things. So they're really focusing on the face, but you could use it on the chest as well. So that might be something you might want to consider adding, because it has some anti-aging benefits. Because you're right. There's a great saying by Dr. Day, who we had on our first season. There's nothing as good in your 50s as sunscreen in your 20s. There's nothing as good for your skin in your 50s as sunscreen in your 20s.
So true. So true.
I think go ahead. No, what did you want to say?
Oh, I did have a question. I think I've seen some things about vitamin C under
Yep.
a sunscreen, that it kind of
Yep.
acts as like a little booster or
Yeah.
a little extra something.
They're actually looking at whether it has some protective factor. Those studies are ongoing, but it's like a sponge that's gonna. So vitamin C is a strong antioxidant. So vitamin C, 10 to 15% stable doses or say stable concentrations will decrease the injury that you could potentially get from sun.
Okay.
But they also are looking at, does it have some sun protective factor? So definitely using a vitamin C under your sunscreen, using a sunscreen with niacinamide or peptides, like the one I talked about, those can, to address your concern of, am I aging myself more by all the stuff I'm doing? Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. I'll have to.
Yeah.
I'll pick your brain on a good vitamin C after. I know it's trial and error because every skin reacts differently, but
Yeah, I mean the most important point there is to look for stable. So how do you know that? I mean, it's really brand. So like SkinCeuticals, the first sort of vitamin C serum, most stable, lots of data. Vichy has a wonderful vitamin C serum. L'Oreal owns both SkinCeuticals and Vichy, so they have, the brands are very good. I'd be worried about more mom and pop shops, maybe some botanical or more natural ones. We don't have the stability data. They may say they have 10 to 15%, but after it's on the shelf for 3 months, how much is there? So with vitamin C, I usually recommend SkinCeuticals or Vichy. Yeah. So we're going to sort of wrap it up with a controversial topic, not for you because you're high risk, but skin checks and early detection of skin cancer. So given your high exposure, it's a no-brainer that you require a skin exam by a physician, preferably a dermatologist, yearly because of your risk factors. So let's actually talk a little bit about, and I think the last time I saw you when you brought in your silver medal for me to see, thank you again so much. That was
It's
a
so
real
nice.
highlight for me. I did a skin check. I did a skin check for skin cancer. So let's look at what are the risks, because the controversy is not, it's about who needs it, right? So we already established that you're high risk, you need it. So what are your risk factors? And we're really talking about melanoma here because that's the deadly skin cancer. So if you have a personal history of melanoma, pretty obvious, you need to have a check yearly. High mole count, okay, over 50 to 100 moles, or if you have atypical or what we call dysplastic moles. Fair skin, light hair, red eyes, tendency to sunburn. That's a softer risk, but if you add it to other risk, you might land into a high risk category. Blistering sunburn, we already talked about. Okay. Tanning bed use, huge increase. Living closer to the equator, it's something that you don't always think about. Family history of melanoma. So this is where it gets a little controversy. So I have people come in and they're like, my grandma had melanoma. That doesn't count. It's first degree relative or brother and sister, because listen, when our grandparents, they didn't wear, there was no sunscreen. It was suntan oils.
Yeah.
And
those big mirrors.
Yeah.
The tinfoil.
Yeah. And it's skipping a generation. And then if you have genetic mutations, there's some BRCA mutations that actually can increase, which is the breast cancer one. Immunosuppression, like if you're on drugs that suppress your immune system. So listeners, if you don't have any of those risk factors, you do not need to see a dermatologist every year for a skin check. You can see your family doctor. They can risk stratify you and send you. And the U.S. Prevention Services Task Force looked at this issue and said the same thing. Only people with high risk need to see a dermatologist yearly for skin check. And that's definitely you, Melissa.
That is definitely me. Yes, yeah. I am in there every year.
So your dad's family so your dad had melanoma, or who had melanoma?
My mom's side.
Okay. But first degree, like?
No, actually, I just learned it was my grandma.
So it's less relevant to you.
Yeah. So that's great to know.
And she grew up where?
Chile.
So closer to the equator?
Yes.
Okay. Was she moly? She
was very fair skinned. My grandma actually was fair skinned, light eyes and light hair.
Right. So you're a slightly different risk factor, right?
Yeah.
And yeah. Are you moly? Yeah. I can't remember. Are you moly?
I am not moly actually. So I feel like I'm doing a good job and I have genetics on my side. But my fiance is he's a ginger. So he is as light as can be and has the red hair. And so he is very moly. And so I'm on him all the time. He played professional rugby and so was exposed to the sun for a long time as well outdoors. So yes, I definitely, those that are in my circle, I am on them to make sure that they're getting their skin checks and being mindful of the moles.
Good.
Great. That's so great. So can we talk about some fun stuff?
Well, actually, I wanted, so one last question.
Okay, well, before we get to even more fun stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Do you have any players in your community who have developed skin cancers that you know of?
I do know of a few who've had to get it removed. Yes. And I do know a few athletes who have had some pretty severe mole removals, and so the scarring is pretty large. And I know that the recovery from that too can be it's tough. And so it does hit a little bit harder when it's close to home and when it's in your community. And, sometimes as athletes, you think you're invincible and you don't really think about some of these external factors because you're so focused on your craft. But when you kind of get that little hit of reality of like, oh no, it's actually a real thing and it impacts us. It definitely makes you think twice and learn a little bit more and be more diligent.
That's a really good point and a good one to end on before we get to the sort of fun. I want to hear about your Olympic journey, or our listeners certainly do. Moles. Okay, so prophylactic excision of moles is not necessary. So, and it is somewhat more common in different countries. We don't do it as much in Canada. It's done a little bit more in the US, then that's a generalized statement. Because if we talk about, again, the most deadly skin cancer, which is melanoma, 60 to 70% of melanomas don't occur in a mole. So prophylactically coming in and excising 10 moles. And for a beach volleyball player, like that involves cutting stitches. You're not going to be able to do certain activities like with the stitches. So it's going to interfere with your training. It's not necessary. And again, that comes back to this sort of misinformation that, I have a lot of moles, let's cut them all off so I won't get melanoma. It doesn't work that way. Certainly moles can turn into a melanoma, but the vast majority of melanomas don't come from a mole. So, and I wanted to ask, because I think I saw it on your social media, that I want to talk a little bit about mole mapping. And it's also controversial a little bit too. Now, for someone like yourself, I think it's a good idea because any extra level of surveillance. So for the listeners, mole mapping is when you go to these special clinics and they have this device and they take all these pictures and they zoom in on all of them. And they can even do a dermoscopy, which is a very up close look at the mole, and then they rank them all, and then you come in routinely and they check them. Great for people with all those risk factors or who have 100 moles, but for the average person, not necessary. So, do you think has it helped your peace of mind?
I think it did. And I think it was interesting because when I look at myself and do my own mole check, there are some that I'm like, oh, that one looks a little iffy. And it was interesting going to the appointment and then being like, no, that one's totally fine. There's another one that is completely under the radar that you would have never noticed, that one's a little bit more interesting. So I think that was very eye-opening for myself to be like, okay, so just the blatant eye check on ourselves might not be enough, or definitely is not enough. And it was eye-opening for that. So I think, for those high risk factors, it was helpful to get an understanding of what moles also look like beyond what the eye can see, like under the microscope. I think that was fascinating, and to see what is a mole and what's not a mole. So that kind of education was fascinating for me. And I did leave being like, okay, I feel like I have a better understanding of my skin and what I'm looking for. And I have this, baseline already taken of what my skin looks like. So in the future, I feel pretty taken care of. But I think it was interesting because this year we had a group kind of come talk to Volleyball Canada at our yearly induction camp and just provide that education to the up and coming athletes and developing athletes and to everyone, because I think even as beach volleyball players, there's still a lot of information we don't know about skin cancer and about sun safety. So it's important to start that education young, early in your career. And to understand the impact. I think I read the stat, the skin cancer is one of the most common types of cancer in Canada.
It is.
And which was crazy to me. I had no idea. And it is also the most preventable.
And it's the only one that hasn't really come down. Many other cancers have come down, but skin cancer has not. It's actually risen. And that might be lead time bias because it's 20 years later. So as the habits evolve, we'll see improvement as we go. And they're seeing that in Australia. One point I wanted to make about, there is recent studies to show that a yearly check with a dermatologist in the office statistically doesn't save lives necessarily, unless you're in that high risk category. What it does is it slows down our clinics and doesn't let us see people that we really need to see. What does make a difference is self-examination. We see this time and time again with breast exams, with so you checking yourself, getting to know your moles is really the most preventive thing you can do as an individual with respect to skin cancer. Yeah.
And also having somebody, a partner, a friend also check. I've heard of so many stories of people saying, oh, a friend of mine, a girlfriend, a boyfriend saw this mole on my back that I would never see because it's so hard to check your back. So make sure that you have people also checking for you. That can help save lives as well. Because there are some hard spots to look at. So
between the toes too. Don't forget about between the toes and behind the ears. Behind the ears. Back is most common in men. Lower legs, back of legs, most common in women.
Oh, interesting. Oh my gosh, this is going to be the most informative podcast for the community.
And I was going to say, I used to do talks for the provincial teams in Ontario, but I'd be happy to come and talk to the Canadian.
Okay, this is great to know. Yes,
I remember
that's how we connected was way back when in my young provincial days. Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap it up, I think the listeners would really love to hear about just some of your highlights from Paris. Playing on that court by the Eiffel Tower, some of your highlights from the ceremony, the village, your gear. Share with some of your highlights. What an amazing thing.
Gosh. I mean, the Paris Olympics was incredible. And it was incredible for so many reasons. One, because it was the first one after, or the first Summer Olympics after the pandemic. Because I also had the privilege of representing Canada in the Tokyo Olympics, but that was in the middle of the pandemic. So it wasn't quite the Olympic experience that you dream of as an athlete. Paris was. It had everything. It was all encompassing, and what a beautiful city. And the organizers did an incredible job. And truly, beach volleyball had one of the best venues in the history of the Olympics. I don't think that will ever be topped.
No.
Right under the Eiffel Tower was truly incredible. And I can speak for the community of beach volleyball. We felt the responsibility to honor the Eiffel Tower and honor that location because that's a marquee location. And we had all incredible stars come out and watch our games. Snoop Dogg was there, LeBron James,
nice. Did you get to meet any of them?
I did not get to meet them. Unfortunately, they were there to cheer on the USA. But,
right.
Well, not Djokovic, but yes. It was incredible. And I never got used to it. I think every time we took the bus from the village to the Eiffel Tower and you saw the Eiffel Tower just coming closer and closer and closer, the butterflies in your stomach, in my stomach at least, would just be flying and fluttering. So it was truly incredible. And I think the whole Olympic experience, no matter how much you prepare for it, will never prepare you for the feelings you feel and for the emotional roller coaster that not only you feel, but your intimate team, your teammates, your coaching staff, and your family and friends who were there. And it is truly an emotional journey. And also, we had no idea how many people back home were watching. You're kind of in this bubble. You're in this stadium, this gorgeous stadium of, 10, 15,000 people, jam-packed every night, super loud. There's also millions of people back home watching and tuning in.
There was.
And so it was incredible to come home after the Olympics and see how many people really tuned in and cared about our journey and cared about our stories. And that made it so special. And to see the impact of that on our sport as well, to see how many young girls and boys are now playing beach volleyball or picking up, going to register for some local beach volleyball tournaments in their city or province at home. And so that was really special. And I think, it's been almost 2 years out from there. And so I've had a lot of time to reflect. And because in the moment, as an athlete, we walked away with a historic medal for Canada in beach volleyball. And it was still bittersweet, right? The silver medal.
You should have won. No, not anything on your part.
No.
Yeah.
No, it was such a wonderful game, and it's kind of what you want the gold medal to be, is like just a wonderful showcase of the sport and of the skills, and going all the way to the very end. And it could be anybody's game at that point. Is how you want it to end a tournament. Obviously, you want to be one of the winning side of that. So it was hard to stomach for a while after the Olympics, to reconcile what those mixed feelings felt of pride, but also like heartbreak. And the moments of the ceremony, they were so fast after the last point, right? They just kind of, the ball hits the ground. Some teams are celebrating, the other teams are not celebrating. And then they just take you off. You have to quickly change, and then they take you back out there. And then you're standing on this podium, and there's still your family and friends there. Everyone's crying. You're crying. Like, it's just so emotional. And then after that,
I remember seeing a picture of you and your father. That was really nice. Yeah. And
so special.
For him, as a coach, to see his child, like, it's nothing better.
It was so special to share that with them, and for them to be there and witness that. And my dad, he went to an Olympics as a coach as well. He went to the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, and he brought back a bronze medal with his team in beach volleyball with Marquise and John Child on the men's side. And so
that's right.
It's so cool to have, two medals in the family in a way. And so
so I have a question. Where's the medal
right now?
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a trick question right now. It's at home. It's often in a sock, in the sock drawer when I'm traveling, because socks are they're actually very protective for the medal. Surprisingly, we have this beautiful big box to host it in, but when you have to bring it to events and things like that, there's no carrier case for it. So I put it in a sock. So sometimes I think it just stays in the sock. Yeah.
Oh, that's cute. I think we have to wrap it up.
Okay.
Do you want to ask anything?
Yeah. Well, I want to say I love your, advice to younger players or young people who are starting in the sport. And, I think a lot of young people will be hopefully more aware of protecting themselves from the sun and listening to you. And I think we just overall, I love that message that you're giving them. And you're obviously so inspirational to young people and who are coming up in the sport. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, you've done, and since the Olympics, you're killing it.
Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Didn't you beat the people you lost to, did you not?
We did. We actually, shortly, the following season after the Olympics, this was on home soil in Montreal.
Yes.
And so it was kind of a homecoming for all of the Canadian community, the Canadian beach volleyball community, to come watch in person and kind of celebrate us after the Olympics, because we hadn't really been home that much in Canada after. And we had a home tournament in Montreal, which we ended up winning. And we had kind of a rematch of the gold medal, Olympic gold medal game in Montreal. So people were super excited to witness that. And that was so much fun.
Yeah, that was nice.
And it was so special.
That was nice to see.
So nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest. You were awesome. And I know that this episode's going to be well watched and received. And so we appreciate your time. And sorry for mixing up the times. I got it all mixed up. Anyway,
that's totally my fault.
Thank you to our listeners. And please review, subscribe, add comments. It helps us bring us the content that you love. And we'll see you next time on Skin to It. Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
Catch us every Thursday for a fresh exclusive dose of Skin to It. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on the skincare wisdom. We will guide you through the maze of skincare and cut through that noise to help you achieve your healthiest skin. Loving our podcast? Share your thoughts and help us grow by leaving a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Until we meet again, see you soon on Skin to It, your guide to healthy skin.